Hello, everyone. This is Cisilian's Beyond Tech podcast. Today, I am hosting this one all around Cisco Live. We could almost call this a Cisilion Live recap of what we saw out in Amsterdam. We'll keep to the PG-friendly version. My name is Nathan Ashby. I'm a Cisco Solutions Specialist. I'm joined by...
Hi, Ian Perry, Senior Solutions Architect, specialising on collaboration technology.
And Craig Hawley, Enterprise Solutions Architect, most things Cisco badged.
Perfect. So last week was really exciting for a couple of reasons. Firstly, Cisco have announced a few new updates in terms of existing products as well as some new. I think it's time we mentioned the key word that was obviously highlighted a lot during last week, which is AI. And I think there's firstly a really key point to make. AI can be viewed in two ways from a Cisco perspective here. One being an element and enhancement to existing products, almost like a SaaS product, aka it's built in and you can gain that capability. And the second is very much Cisco from an infrastructure perspective, providing the foundations for our customers to build their own in-house AI solutions. I think let's start on the first side of that, which is the easy to consume assistants and built-in chatbots, etc., that Cisco provide. And I think I'll start with yourself, Ian. From your perspective, what did you see from Cisco within that AI space against their current products?
Yeah, there's a lot. It's not all brand new. Cisco have been doing this for a while. Used to call it machine learning. Now we call it AI. There's been that capability. There's been NVIDIA chipsets in Cisco meeting room devices for a number of years now. Those are powering things like head detection, background noise removal that have been there a long time. Those are evolved now. We've got now AI director in the devices, so that is choosing the best view of a meeting room like this. It might be splitting us up into 3 individual frames, so we're not wasting screen real estate with background. Great as this background is looking over the City of London, but sometimes you just want to focus on the people. So that AI director is automatically choosing the most appropriate view for the far end to consume. So that's been there for a little while. A lot of new stuff come out now in terms of agents in contact center. So we've had the ability to do a virtual agent, which is going to act like a human, have a conversation, whether that be on a digital channel like SMS or web chat or WhatsApp, etc., or a voice, real-time voice conversation. You speak to it like a human, it responds like a human. We can empower it with actions to actually go off in the background and do things, right? Because it's very easy to just have a little knowledge base. Where's the car parking at my hospital? But actually, I want to change my appointment. Okay, we've got some appointments for next Tuesday. Here's 4 options. Which one would you like? I'll book the 2 o'clock, please. Great, thanks. And you can automate the whole thing and take people out of the equation and obviously reduce costs for serving those kind of interactions. So there's a lot of really tangible things that actually deliver benefits rather than just being, we've got AI. It's that real outcomes coming from it.
I think that's a really good point. And just quickly to dwell on that, you mentioned around obviously cost reduction in terms of removing people. In fairness, as part of the keynote speech, G2 in particular called out the fact that actually Cisco, even internally, the way they're using their tools, such as Contact Center or their developers, they are actively encouraged to use AI. And there's a flip side to that being it's not necessarily always to replace the job. It's to provide a streamlined way to either improve efficiency, okay, developing programs and software, or as you say, around customer experience, how it feels to effectively work with that business. Contact center is very human-to-human interaction typically. Yep. From your perspective of some of those adjustments, do you see them being actually tangible benefits, or in a polite way, a little bit of noise from almost a stock market to say we've got AI?
No, I think it's real. We've been to Cisco Live for a number of years, and maybe 2 years ago, we were probably having a joke that AI came up in every presentation. I think I was making notes of how soon into each one somebody actually mentioned it. And now we're seeing actual things from it. We've just mentioned AI agents. You mentioned a great point about that kind of human-to-human interaction that people like in customer service environments. The other side of that capability in the contact center is the AI assistant. So that is really to augment the human, help them be more efficient. Similar to developers using it to generate code, etc., or to check code, or to solve problems they can't. But also we can use AI Assistant to help people provide consistent information. We can help with onboarding and training for contact centres as a problem. It's an industry where there's quite a lot of churn. People don't always get job satisfaction from it. As a result, agents come and go. So, ramping up new agents so they're performing just as well as everybody else is a challenge. AI Assistant kind of helps with that because you can have a knowledge base, right? This is our process. This is how we do things at Cisilion when we're on the phone. And when somebody asks for this thing, here is what you should be suggesting. So we can have that in real time. While we're in a conversation, our little assistant's going to pop up on our desktop and tell us, here's the advice to give the customer. Please ask them for this. Make sure we do the ID verification first. Once you've done that, you can then go into their account and give them the details of it. You can also do things like well-being, right? So again, it's a stressful environment. You get 20 calls in quick succession, everyone's shouting and swearing at you because the organisation has not delivered a great service. Obviously, doesn't apply to Cisilion, but that takes toll on people, right? We're humans. We don't like to be shouted at and sweared and called names. So one of the features of AI Assistant is to recognise that and notice that actually this is affecting your well-being, your mental health. Take a break, right? And we can just automatically take you unavailable, take you out of the queue. You're not taking any calls. Maybe show some relaxing content just as a little distraction, just for a few minutes, and then you can go back into things again and hopefully not go back to people shouting and swearing at you once more.
Fingers crossed not. And to be fair, this is what is so exciting about the enhancements, not that we're kind of seeing across the industry now, especially within Cisco, is, as you say, a couple of years ago, it did feel perhaps a little bit of a buzzword, but now, yes, the word is used a lot, but there is really tangible, noticeable gains being seen in terms of the products being released. I suppose over to yourself, Craig, on that same point of effectively the assistants and the built-in products from very much the core of Cisco's business, which has always been networking, fundamentally where their heritage is. What did you see from Cisco Live that particularly excited you around that space?
There was one session that sticks out in my mind, which was around using the AI assistant for ACI, although they used it across many different platforms. It's supported in, Catalyst Center, for example, Meraki Dashboard, where you can, if you've got an ACI deployment and you're using it as an infrastructure as a service type deployment, you've got a YAML file there that is the single source of the truth for the configuration. Mm-hmm. You can feed it that file. It's looking to use your actual build, your actual information to digest that and come up with an answer for the question you're prompting it to. Whether that's, I'm looking to configure a new bridge domain, I need to make it sure it doesn't overlap with this IP space. Can you recommend this? Or how would I go about doing this? Or I've got this error message. Help me fix it. Almost like a TAC light. So go through those first levels of troubleshooting and if from there escalate to Cisco TAC if required. But it was quite intelligent and focused on your exact build because it has that information to hand. They also made it very clear about the platform it runs on and the deals that they have, enterprise agreements and such in the background to make sure that other agents aren't being trained on your corporate sensitive data, which obviously is a key talking point, data sovereignty. Data sovereign. I can't get the words out.
Keeping your data in the right place.
Yeah. It's been a long week at Cisco Live.
Yeah,
but that was a key point that was discussed there. That's a hot topic for a lot of people.
It is.
It applies in the stuff that I talk about as well. So AI agents, again, it's using public models. Not publicly developed models, so like OpenAI within Azure, but it's a Cisco instance of that. Yep. Cisco then put that through their own kind of pipeline to check for any kind of remove any personally identifiable information in there. Run it through some guardrails and some security policies, anonymize anything that's identifiable, then it goes to Cisco's instance. And as Craig says, we're not training models, right? It's very easy. It's almost trivial now to just generate yourself a chatbot or a network infrastructure agent that's going to analyze something using AI, right? We could just use a public open service to do that. But then we're sending our data to that public service, and what's happening? That's the difference, I think, with Cisco's approach, is that your security and privacy of that data is critical. Very well documented by Cisco and strongly adhered to, that you're not training other things. You can be confident in that your data isn't being used.
No, completely. And there's quite a few points there, to be fair. Just almost recap that slightly. So from a data center infrastructure space, making it much simpler to troubleshoot complex issues.
Absolutely.
The main experts are still needed. It doesn't mean engineers, CCIEs, and highly skilled individuals aren't required. However, it's making their ability to understand not just the infrastructure as a whole in terms of protocol level and how it fits together, but really bespokely to their environments, which is always a unique challenge.
To act as a technical soundboard to say this is what we're looking to achieve, you've got the exact data to deal with it and help you achieve that in a timely fashion and get it right first time.
Absolutely.
And if you don't get it right, it can assist to a fairly decent level there as well. Going back to what you were saying, really.
And the second point of that, to be fair, and you both call this out, and it is such an important topic. Obviously, if this is not AI solutions you're building in-house, and obviously you have control then of the guardrails, the data locations, the security around that, is ultimately if you use a vendor's AI tooling, you need to ensure that they are putting the right, exactly as you say, guardrails and protection around what you share with those tools. And Cisco are taking this very seriously. In particular, during the keynote, they did call out around their sovereign critical infrastructure commitment, which effectively, it applies to the AI agents they're building, but all of their network infrastructure and solutions and products, whether that be the collaboration room devices or a switch, they are ensuring that they have a legally binding commitment around the location of your data if it's inside their cloud platforms, aka their data centers, or likewise, if it's hardware they're selling you, they're ensuring by, again, that legal commitment they've stated, there'll be no backdoors. They're protecting that data source so it doesn't go to other tenants, other customers, as it were, which I think is obviously a key point. Thinking slightly outside of just the AI assistance, AI tooling they have, one of the big things that was discussed is customers building their own AI solutions. Naturally, Cisco infrastructure company, they have compute, they have data center switching, they have routers, they have firewalls. They've got the complete package fundamentally of all the key components that build this out. There were some announcements around, for example, their new processors, aka the Silicon One. And I think the key part is not just numbers of, yes, it can push more data quickly, but the energy efficient elements of that, because that is the largest constraint now really to the speed of making AI a reality.
And it being a programmable ASIC as well.
Yes.
So, as things emerge and technologies change, it's not set in stone. They can push a new code to it and achieve something that they may not have thought of day one.
Absolutely good point. And thinking of the wider kind of infrastructure piece from building your own AI solutions, was there anything else in particular that perhaps you saw, Craig, from that side of the data center space, which I know obviously you specialise in?
Everywhere, really. We had some new Nexus switches, new optics that are, I think, now 1.6 terabyte throughput. It was water cooled. Obviously, that's only really relevant to a lot of those hyperscaler type infrastructures, but they're effectively saying, we can do it. We can do the front end network. How are you going to get from your sites into your data center to the front end of any AI solution, as well as the back end network? When you're going to have GPU to GPU communication that needs that high bandwidth, low latency network, they can do it all. They can do the storage back end network. You need to have that storage presented to that AI model. And as you said, from a compute point of view as well, they've pretty much got all of that covered off. I know the AI pods that they released a little while ago, it wasn't new to Cisco Live this year, but they've certainly released a few things that complement that and that journey to where they're going.
No, 100%. And to be fair, they did announce one particular new compute product, which I must say, generally believe is quite groundbreaking, which is their unified edge platform. Yeah. It's fundamentally a server. However, it's rare to see a server that has built-in modules that include switching capabilities that include firewall and routers on it, while having it very easy to deploy model using effectively some of their new management tools. In particular, they're kind of saying this use case will be for clearly customers without data centers, or rather they've got a big data center, but they need local to their warehouse, their retail stores, their branches, a localized compute version to be able to either run large language models, which obviously ties in with their AI-focused infrastructure. But for me, I also saw that as opportunity because it is just hardware, right? Very powerful hardware, lots of options, but there is no premise to stop a customer deploying their own hypervisors on that or using it for other use cases outside of just pure AI, large language models being deployed on it. Was there anything in particular around Unified Edge in terms of that new server that you two saw that could be a use case? Could someone deploy a call manager on it and have it air-gapped, for example?
That probably doesn't apply so much in collaboration. Call manager, unified communications manager, the whole hypervisor story that people will recognise the issues that have happened in the industry in the last couple of years on that. There are some developments in that, in different hypervisors being available to host that. Probably a good time just to mention, slight aside, is that that on-prem infrastructure is continuing. Cisco commit to another 10 years of that on-prem infrastructure. We've spoken about data sovereignty and air-gap networks. There's always a requirement in certain industries and sectors for that. So cloud is great, but not for everybody.
Yeah.
So that on-prem stuff will continue. What that compute platform looks like in 5-10 years' time, I don't know. But Cisco commit to doing that, and they're pretty good at meeting those needs for their customers.
Yep.
The other point that I see in the collaboration spaces that we've spoken about, those consumable AI agents or AI assistants that help us do our job, or to do parts of our job we don't want to do. The other thing, currently we've got a model. It's a Cisco solution. You completely consume the whole thing from Cisco for all of the large language model behind the scenes. They are starting to develop now, sort of bring your own AI capabilities to that. So there's a lot of TLAs to come up. So I apologise in advance for that. But things like A2A and MCP are things where one agent can talk to another agent to get to do things. So I've got my voice agent that's talking to the customer. I could then send that back to my CRM agent and tell it to go find out this ticket number and give me the detail back, right? So it just streamlines the whole thing. So you can make your front end a little bit leaner, focus the knowledge on what you're best at, and have something else do what it's best at, and have them talking to each other. Those kind of things. Somebody wanted their own large language model. They had some very sensitive data. They didn't, despite Cisco's well-documented privacy policies, they just don't trust cloud. They can't have cloud. Whatever. They've got a blanket rule. A lot of places just have a blanket rule sometimes. So you could have your own large language model running on the Unified Edge, and in the future you'd be able to use the front end of an AI agent and bring your own model through that on-premise compute. So that's a sort of hybrid between the infrastructure stuff and the sort of consumable outcome stuff with the other AI agents.
Absolutely love it. And to be fair, absolutely, it's very much food for thought on how we can use some of these. And I think that's a couple of really good points from a cooling perspective there. What about yourself, Craig, from kind of a wider infrastructure perspective? Can you see any other ways we could be clever with some of these new tools we're being provided?
To step away from the AI side slightly, we often see customers that have data center workloads. They often have offices now where they almost want to treat it like a coffee shop and have purely the internet connection out, make use of SSE and SASE. Occasionally there is a side use case that comes up where they need some sort of local compute. And for a small branch, it seems to be fit the bill for so many use cases around that. It looks really flexible bit of kit. As you said, the power that they've got in a small box like that as well.
Incredible.
So I see, as you said, that the agentic side of things, absolutely. Whether it's a large language or small language model, or whether you're just going to run a workload there for your BMS system, for example. It's something that could be quickly spun up, easy to manage, doesn't need a 42U rack and a big power source.
No, absolutely. And to be fair, you mentioned something that absolutely is worth a conversation to expand on some of their announcements. But Cisco's SASE platform, again, a few adjustments with that. One of them is a bit of a commercial model, aka that they've adjusted the amount of minimum seats needed. Previously, it was quite a higher count, but now they've opened it up to really any business that can make use of that platform. As well as just updates in terms of the product itself. One of them that I did see was their ability now to handle AI traffic flows. Now, I didn't get to see, unfortunately, under the hood quite of how they're doing it and which protocols they're looking at, but the premise that they're showing and trying to illustrate is that actually your traffic flows have changed. So even in those internet cafe scenarios or traffic to your data centers, it's not the same as it was a couple of years ago. There is an increased volume of either local large language models using MCP, or there's scenarios where effectively you've got, Copilot or ChatGPT, and ultimately they're trying to ensure that you can appropriately classify and control those traffic flows. So I think there's quite a few good announcements there. Around particularly their platform approach, and we've all got slightly different expertises around Cisco's portfolio. Obviously, that they have a lot of solutions. Traditionally, it's been quite difficult for pure Cisco customers. If you take collaboration, if you take security, you take infrastructure, campus, or data center, that's 4 to 5 portals instantly at minimum in most cases that people need to manage. Did you get a chance to see a little bit more around some of the enhancements that they're trying to make around that unified approach from Cisco there?
I think there's a common design language that we're seeing now in UIs for management. I don't know that we'll ever get to one management portal to manage every Cisco thing across every architecture. Within the collaboration space, that's certainly coming together under a best control hub, so we can manage devices, we can manage our calling infrastructure, our contact center infrastructure, our PSTN ingress and egress. So all of that now is in a single platform, which is great for our customers to manage lots of different workloads. Great for us as a partner to be able to support our customers and manage those workloads on their behalf as well. But yeah, I don't know that we'll see everything else come into the same thing, but at least we get a look and feel that we can log into another portal and go, oh, this is clearly a Cisco portal because it looks like the other thing that I used yesterday, which is, that a lot of places don't, a lot of vendors don't do that. Cisco probably didn't do that a number of years ago. You'd have a very different look and feel between.
They did.
Even with the same architecture, different products. So, that's a help, but yeah, I think getting everything in a single one Cisco management portal for everything they ever do, maybe, never say never, but it seems like a stretch for me.
And from your perspective, Craig, did you see anything along those lines?
I certainly saw some alignment on some of their platforms. So, for example, we've all seen that the changes have come to dashboard lately from the Meraki side of it, and they've added a lot of functionality there as well that we've saw with EVPN coming on Catalyst equipment in the coming months. It's on early availability now, but also I had a session on Hyperfabric, which again data center focused, where you are configuring your Nexus switches that are running Sonic OS rather than NXOS to create a fabric, and it's done through a very Meraki-esque GUI, SaaS-based. So again, you can see that design philosophy there. They're trying to standardize. Whether they've got one portal yet, not that I've come across, but it's a busy week. I didn't get to every session that we all did. So interested to see your thoughts on it.
So they did announce, and in fairness, they've announced this a little while back now under various naming conventions. They are calling it Cisco Cloud Control, and the premise being, and to be clear, they certainly wasn't showing it there, but their approach being that this is coming is certainly what they're saying. And it would be, in principle, a unified platform for all their products where it would have management. But again, to be clear, certainly not something that's available or even showable at their showcase. However, they do have a couple of other products that kind of is slowly kind of piecing this together. So you mentioned, obviously, from a collaboration perspective, that is all largely in one platform now. From a network perspective, you have a very consistent feel, whether you're on-prem Cisco networking customer or a cloud, or Meraki, as they previously called it. They did show Cisco Security Cloud Control, which is clearly the same naming convention as their new product they're saying, which was all the security products, aka firewalls, SSE, SASE, where that can manage security policies only across their range of products. So it looks like the premise is getting there. I think it will be really exciting to see it develop and come to fruition. I think exactly as you say, though, Ian, it's hard to predict the future. You know, perhaps it will be available this time next year. Perhaps it's a case where actually they've made, you know, leaps and bounds in the same way that, yes, there's one for networking, there's one for cloud, there's one for data center, there's one for security. Maybe they'll slowly get these all pieced together. But it is making progress. On kind of new products, though, thinking of the cloud platforms, Meraki, as we used to know and love it, we have seen them over the years, and you mentioned the UI feeling very similar in terms of manageability between on-prem and cloud, but their hardware has become one platform. You know, switches, access points, all available to buy now, been out for a couple of years, continuously adding, but they did show on their showcase floor the new Cisco routers, which are now single hardware, your option, opposed to that kind of a Meraki appliance, a Cisco appliance. So I think, again, it's all coming together there. I suppose as kind of closing thoughts, in terms of your number one highlight each, and which, you know, product or solution or what element's going to excite you and possibly be a real use case that you could see running with straight away, what would you lean with? I'll start with you, Craig, this time.
I think some of mine is actually not even necessarily cutting edge. So
Yeah.
the Nexus, the Catalyst 9000 platform's been around a while now.
Yes.
So the 9200, you know, we often have customers ask us, should we still be investing in these? It's an older platform now.
Mm-hmm.
Cisco made a commitment when we was there to say, not only is it still a current platform, we're still creating new features. It's still being enhanced. We're bringing new technologies to this platform, and we're going to stand by it. So I thought that was quite a strong message, actually. You know, bringing out on some of the newer Cat 9350, they've taken some of the design philosophy around like how stack-wise used to work and streamline that. I know it's a bit of a boring feeds and speeds type conversation that us techies like to have, but they are still investing in that platform. And I think having that strong message for customers to say, yes, it's been around a while, but it's a solid, stable platform, and they're continuing to add features to it is actually quite a strong message to give, and rather than buying the latest and greatest kit that's a new model out every year.
Yeah, that's one thing Cisco do really well across all architectures is, you know, they sustain a product for quite a long life cycle, and there's, you know, a good sustainability angle in that, right? If we're having to change something every 2 years because it's out of date and throw it away, that's a huge waste of resources. So as you say, Cisco build these things, they put a lot of headroom in the hardware resources. They can add new features during the life cycle of the product. So, you know, it starts today with 14 features, whatever they are. Actually, it's going to be around for 5 to 7 years, and it's going to get 40 features by the end of that time, probably. We see that in collaboration. You're seeing it in network infrastructure as well. So it's a good
And
message.
around the power side as well, there was option to power off certain parts of a switch or elements, even if it was something as simple as turning off the LEDs on the front of a switch. Turn it off overnight when it's not in use, saves power, and those small changes compound over the network to big environmental impact.
Yeah,
so you can do something as small as that to shutting down a PoE port where an access point is no longer needed overnight. Obviously, from a phone point of view, you might need to keep a phone on to still be able to dial a 999, but it's now flexible enough to do different levels of power saving. So I think it's gone from an extreme let's power everything off overnight to actually we can probably save most people some sort of money and lower their carbon impact pretty much any size enterprise now.
Yeah, it's just incremental gains, isn't it? Say LED or PoE port on its own is not that much, but scale up to your dozens or your hundreds of switches and every other customers, and then you're into actually a significant impact.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Collaboration, we see, phones, a lot of phones are far more efficient power-wise than they were 5-10 years ago. Meeting room devices, there's some logic in there. Feature called office hours, so we define that after 7 o'clock this won't be used. It goes into a very deep sleep. Can still wake up for firmware management, or if somebody decides to be working late and have a late night meeting with a different time zone, they can come in and the device wakes up. But for most people, between those hours, when the office finishes before they come back in the morning, we can shut the power down on that. Connected screen will power down as well. So yes, just cost savings and as you say, carbon emission savings really add up on those kind of things as well.
No, 100%. And sorry, Ian, from your perspective as well, in terms of kind of a key highlight.
Yes. Was there one really? Probably a couple of things. So the contact center stuff, it's been there for a while. Constant evolution. Lots more things coming to it. More features getting added to the AI agent in terms of the bring your own language model option that's there now. AI assistant having more and more features and capabilities to support people.
That's a big one.
Yeah. That's. And it's a license you buy, and then those additional features you get all of them, right? So I buy it because I want to have automatic summary of my calls, but actually I also get the wellbeing stuff we spoke about earlier. I get that kind of the assistant features to help me give a consistent experience to the customer. So there's a whole suite of things that just get added, which is great value. The other thing in terms of new devices, we've got a new meeting room device. I got a high-end integrator product, the Codec Pro G2.
Okay.
Replacing the old Codec Pro, funnily enough. So it's more powerful. It's lighter. Back to kind of environmental impact again. Reduction in raw materials is really important. Cisco, the guys in Norway, design some great products, but also think really hard about sustainability and the impact of those products. So using recycled materials wherever possible. Minimising impact of transporting materials to the manufacturing site. There's a lot of stuff goes into it. So the new one, I noticed the top has got a kind of a ridged pattern in it, and that was done to give rigidity back because they'd taken away so much material. The top was a little bit unstable almost. So they pressed in a ridged pattern, which then restores that rigidity but still keeps it light. You can pick this thing up; it's super light. It's a large thing. It's not for small meeting room, right? It's not for huddle space. It's for large complex spaces. We've got 8 ports of PoE++, so we can plug in all the new AV over IP cameras and microphones. Previously we'd have been kind of daisy chaining some other switch to give us additional PoE capabilities, which is great. We know a good switching company that can help us with that stuff, but this is all in one box that we manage in that single portal, right? So it's one box. For the AV installer, it's the one thing to go put in the rack. Single cable for your cameras. We've got the new Room Vision PTZ camera that was announced last year. Single Ethernet cable to power and data for that. We've got the Table Mic Pro and the Ceiling Mic Pro. So again, just AV over IP, so single Ethernet cable. So installation reduced. Another environmental impact here, right? So we've got less cables being made, less cables being run.
Yeah. Easier to install,
less
as you
power
say.
and stuff. So there's and then you've got the old traditional, lots of ports on the back to plug things into, and digital and analog, audio and video input. So great product. Replacing the old one. Supporting Microsoft MDEP from the start, which is important for a lot of Microsoft customers. With obviously MTR support is kind of a given now with any Cisco Room devices. That's what many of our customers are asking us for. So MDEP is an important step for those guys. And then we've got the new Desk Pro as well. So Desk Pro G2. So that is an evolution of the old one. Similar 27-inch screen, 4K. Probably the biggest difference really that one now is a dual lens camera, so it can expand. Previously it was really a one-person device, right? An exec would have that on their desk, use it as their personal device. Now it really scales up to probably a huddle space with a couple of people in, which
bit more flexibility.
100% more people than it could support last time, but also a whole load of different use cases, right? Different rooms you can put it in, different things you can use it for. It also functions as a USB hub, so you plug in all your peripherals. So if you're lucky enough to get one from your organisation as a home device, plug in your keyboard and your mouse, whatever you use.
All in one now.
Single USB-C cable into your laptop, everything there for you to use. So some interesting stuff there.
No, amazing. I think that's the thing, right? Is there's just continuous innovation and enhancements across the board. While, as you both called out in terms of their engineering design, they are very mindful about the way they approach things, and it's seen and felt throughout all their products. I certainly hope you've all enjoyed this one this week. We'll be keen to discuss further any announcements from Cisco Live, but also how it actually can benefit your business directly outside of the pure technical considerations there. So thank you so much for joining this one.